Dylan's Fear Files. Hello. Here's a story that happened to me about 2 weeks ago. I'm still startled by this today. Now here's some background info. I live in upstate New York and have a friend named Randy who I frequently hang out with. One night after partying a lot at my friend Jeremy's house, me and Randy decided to head out around 1 a.m. The highway was dead. There were literally no cars in sight. Suddenly we heard a faint scream. We were so confused and startled by this because there were no cars anywhere, just a bunch of fields. The noise became even clearer as we drove farther down the highway, so in a dumb decision by us, we wanted to investigate where the sound was coming from. So we stopped our car in the middle of the highway, and we knew this was safe because the highway was dead with no cars in sight. As we looked around with the screaming noise still heard, we saw a small shadowy figure. Me and Randy went closer to this figure and saw that it was a little boy. We saw the boy had on dirty clothes and had pale skin. This next part scars me and Randy for life. We saw that he had a blank face with no emotion. He was just opening his mouth and screaming randomly. He didn't even move towards us. He just kept freaking screaming for no reason with no emotion. We kept trying to ask if he needed any help, but all the boy would do was scream for no reason. But suddenly he stopped and his face turned from a blank expression to an evil smile. We nearly crapped ourselves. Me and Randy had enough, so we bolted to our car and put the pedal to the floor and got the heck out of there. Even in the rearview mirror I could still see his evil grin. So creepy boy on the highway, let's not meet again. So, about 6 years ago when I was 13 or so, my best friend and I lived in this really nice rich town where it was supposed to be really safe. Even though we were pretty young, her parents let us be out pretty late, until like 11 o'clock. The apartments I lived in at the time were right next to the elementary school and our middle school. We would cut behind the middle school, cut across the track and field, and cut through the elementary's playground to get to my apartments, as the driveway went all the way to the street where her apartments were. So one night, it's probably 9 or 10 and already dark, we start to cut behind the middle school to go home. It was dark back there. On one side was a tall fence lined with trees, and on the other side was the school building. We're walking along, just joking around and having a good time, when we suddenly see this random guy up ahead. He was kind of leaning against the wall, like on his hand facing the wall. His other hand was hidden somewhere. It was really hard to see because it was dark. He was kind of short and gangly, wearing a jacket with the hood up. But we were really short 13-year-old girls, so we were kind of worried about him. As we get closer, we can see his arm that was hidden moving in a really weird way. I thought maybe he was trying to pee or something. We hurry up and walk past him. He doesn't even look up at us. Once we're a safe distance away, my friend whispers to me, "I think he was masturbating." And looking back now, yeah, he probably was. So we keep going and suddenly we hear these footsteps behind us. We don't look over our shoulders, but we start walking faster. We're away from the school building and almost at the field for the middle school. We decide to cut to the parking lot and get onto the street where there were cars driving by. We could still hear the guy behind us. I was so freaked out. By the time we got to the road, we looked over our shoulders and we couldn't see him. It's not the worst thing that could have happened, but it's still scary to think about what his intentions might have been. I've been lurking this thread for a while now, and I feel like I should share my own story. I'm a 22-year-old female, and I was about 19 when it happened. I lived with my dad and grandma at the time. I've always stayed up late and never got creeped out or anything. One weekend I was up late on my laptop, and around 2 to 3 a.m. I heard boot footsteps walking up to my front door and pacing around. My bedroom was literally right by the front door. My bedroom window was directly above my headboard, and I just sat there trying to listen to the steps. I never heard footsteps leaving. Eventually, I somehow went to bed. This happened about every weekend for a month straight. One night, it was a Wednesday, and I was up really late Skyping my friend. Totally fine, having conversation until I hear the footsteps again. I told my friend and listened in on the steps, again with the pacing and not leaving. I was so dang scared I didn't go to sleep that night. I pulled an all-nighter and went to work the next morning. After work, I moved all my stuff into the other room. Never heard the footsteps again. I still have no idea what it was or who it was. still curious. Ever since, I have a really unhealthy fear of being home alone at night. So whatever you are, I don't want to meet.